So New York's Governor Kathy Hochul, she visited the White House yesterday to ask for help from the government for the Big Apple's spiraling migrant crisis. Let's bring in now New York Congressman Mike Lawler, who sits on the House Financial Services and House Foreign Affairs committees and represents some of these suburbs around New York City. Congressman, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. I want to quickly read a part of this letter that you wrote to Governor Hochul and to Mayor Adams. And in this letter, you say, while New York City officials have chosen to embrace sanctuary city policies, suburban officials like the ones in our districts have not. As such, suburban counties like the ones we represent must not be forced to incur the financial and public safety burden caused by the policy choices of New York City officials. And this is the best part. You broke it. You pay for it. That's pretty direct. Tell me how this is impacting and, as you say, burdening the suburban areas.
Well, Governor Hochul and Mayor Adams have been an absolute disaster in dealing with this crisis. And not only have they been behind the eight ball from the beginning, but the very policies that they embraced for years have created this crisis. The New York City shelter system was down to about 50,000 people in it. It's now up over 85,000. They've taken in over 100,000 migrants in just over a year. And since Joe Biden has become president, we've had 5.5 million migrants cross our borders illegally. The challenge here is not the work authorization wait period of 150 days. The challenge here is the fact that it's taking 2 to 3 years for these asylum cases to be heard. And when they're finally heard, 70% of them are being rejected as not valid asylum claims. And so in the interim, our municipalities in areas like New York are bearing the burden and having to provide housing, education, food. And this is a real challenge. And on municipalities like the ones that I represent, they don't have anywhere near the social services support system that New York City does. The state legislature gave New York City $1 billion in this year's budget to deal with this. New York City is now claiming it's going to be upwards of $10 billion to handle this migrant crisis. This is funds, taxpayer funds, that we don't have. You know, we have veterans who are struggling. We have seniors who can't afford to pay their bills. We have people who are unemployed because our economy is still struggling. The cost of groceries, the cost of living, the cost of gasoline have gone up. And this Biden administration, coupled with the incompetence of Governor Hochul and Mayor Adams, has created an absolute mess with our immigration system.
Congressman, New York City's deputy mayor, she basically said a lot of what you're saying, but it's interesting. It's also coming from inside the House. Watch here.
I think with 2,900 people coming through the front door every week, even if we get people out in the shelter, even if we do get kids into school, if we do resettlement, it seems like we're almost like hamsters on a wheel if we don't do something about the front door.
So Hochul goes to the White House. She gets told she'll only get to meet with the chief of staff. She walked away basically with nothing.
Well, again, incompetence. The deputy mayor is 100% right. If you don't deal with our southern border, you could give all the work authorization you want. You're still going to be dealing with the fact that you're having tens of thousands of migrants cross the border every week. We're talking about roughly 43,000 migrants a week crossing the border. I live in a town of about 49,000 people, so it's almost the size of my town crossing the border every week. It's absolutely ludicrous. This is why House Republicans passed H.R. 2, the Secure Our Border Act. Chuck Schumer, the senator from New York,
Congressman,
has done absolutely nothing.
Really quickly, just respectfully, though, that House bill, and I understand that the Republicans in the House passed it, it's not going to make it through the Senate. You have this never-ending loop that we hear of blame being passed between the White House to Congress. Secretary Mayorkas wants you guys to do something. You guys want the White House to do something. The White House throws it back to you. I mean, it's just never ending. Can Republicans and Democrats, do you think this year, come together to put something together that both of you can vote on?
Respectfully, I'll disagree with you here. The Senate Democrats have done absolutely nothing on border security. They've done nothing on immigration. House Republicans passed H.R. 2 months ago. When President Biden came to my district, Westchester County, in April, I specifically said to him, Mr. President, please work with Speaker McCarthy to pass a border security bill. I am someone whose wife is an immigrant. I've been through this system. It is a fundamentally broken system, and it needs to be fixed. I signed on to the Dignity Act, the first bipartisan piece of legislation in over a decade to secure our border and reform our broken immigration system. But if we don't deal with the border first, we're never going to get anywhere. And you are seeing cities like New York have been overwhelmed after years of having a sanctuary city policy. They didn't give one iota about what was happening at the southern border. And now that it is on their doorstep, they are melting down because they can't handle the influx. So the deputy mayor was spot on. We need to deal with the border first. And Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate Majority Leader, who represents New York, needs to get off his keister, work with the Speaker, and actually pass a bill through the Senate that we can all pass and the president can sign into law so we can actually solve the border crisis once and for all.
Well, the pressure on Schumer might get ratcheted up quite a bit, and you're here doing that, but Democrats are doing that too. Mike Lawler, Congressman from New York, thank you so much for your time today.